George. I worked for Kaiser Permanente of Georgia. My husband was Art George. He also worked for Kaiser Permanente of Georgia. Yet in April of 2017, he ended his life. This is my story. This is our story. It's a story of heartache and loss, but also a tremendous amount of love. We met at a meeting about health insurance, which isn't really where I thought I'd meet my mate. And then we left that meeting and went out for drinks. That was our first date. But then I learned a lot about him too. We felt really comfortable. He told me about his mother had passed away the year before by suicide. He also told me that he'd been in the Air Force and he joined at 17. He was so young, his mom had to sign his paperwork. He was also a war veteran. He was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm at age 19. He had earned medals and ribbons, and he'd also seen many friends die. I learned that Art shot a camel while in Saudi Arabia because he thought someone's trying to kill him. But I also learned that we had a lot of fun, and then 8 months later, he asked me to be his wife because I was already his best friend. Even though people grieve differently, that I didn't think, in my personal opinion, didn't think he had grieved for the loss of his mother. And even that he had not talked to anyone about coming home from war and possible effects of PTSD. But we had talked about a lot of things. You know, Art had talked to me about, and I had learned a lot from him, about a lot of good things. You know, he taught me about motorcycles and about cars, and we laughed a lot. We had a really good time, but there was so much we didn't talk about, such as those things, grief and loss. I think Art was afraid to get help. I think quite possibly his industry knowledge might have been one thing. I think when he had his identity stolen was a contributor. I think he truly didn't believe there was really such a thing as confidentiality. I think he was always afraid that his information would get out or that he could be discriminated against if he had a mental illness. Just fear. And I think he suffered in silence because of that, and he didn't get the help he needed. We did start seeing a therapist because we knew we needed some kind of communication work. He wanted to move out west. He knew that would be really hard for me. Not just my friends and family, my job. I'm from here. It would be really hard. We had a plan though, that we worked with the therapist through, and our plan was he would go there first, make sure he liked his new job. Portland's different. He had to make sure he liked the weather. He knew I would struggle with the weather. The culture, and make sure that it was going to be good. And then I would move out there too. And that was our plan. I just didn't realize that Art had a different plan. And he ended his life when he was in Portland. Art won't be remembered for his kind heart. And when I continue his legacy, it'll be through not only volunteer work, but it could be in the food court when someone doesn't have enough cash and I buy their lunch for them, because that's something Art would have done. Well, it's something Art did do. But I think most likely he'll be remembered for his beautiful eyes, his big smile, and his contagious laughter you could hear down the hallway, which also just shows there is no indicator of someone in distress. There's no obvious potential risk of suicide or no red flags necessarily that are always there. go out there and get what you need, and don't be afraid. Don't let fear hold you back. And remember and be thankful for what is out there and the joys, and that life is worth living. I just read something from a musician that my brother knows, who was handed a note at a concert one day that said, "For the last 2 months, I've thought about suicide. And tonight I'm reminded of how happy your music makes me." And there's such simplicity in that note, but there's such, it's just beautiful to know that that saved someone's life. And I would just ask that if you are in need, find something joyful like music, or seek services from a mental health professional or a friend. Find your words.